Oh boy, I did it. I did it. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Sprue review video. This will be the last one, I think, of 2025. And what a video to finish things off with. Not last video, but last Sprue review. Yes, today we are talking about Warhammer Quest Darkwater that Games Workshop very kindly sent me early to build up, paint, review, Sprue review, and play with all of you out there. I'm so excited. It's such a good book. It's a box. There's a pretty good book in it as well. It's a very light book. And that's a good thing. You can tell I'm a little bit out of practice making videos. I've been doing a lot of filming, a lot of painting videos, but I haven't been on camera so much recently because I've been having to get all of these models done. I wanted to get them all finished for today for your perusal, and I have done that. That is the spoiler alert for later on in the video. If you've seen one of these before, we generally like to leave a little bit of mystery, but there is none today because we have done all 49 models in this box, and I'm so proud of that accomplishment and what we've got. As a set, I think it's absolutely breathtaking. They're just fantastic, and it's been a really long time coming, waiting for Warhammer Quest boxes. Man, I don't remember when Cursed City came out, but it's come out since we've been full-time on YouTube because we did all of the videos for Cursed City. And this time around, we've done exactly the same thing. There are 16 painting videos coming your way. We did blend two together because Contrast plus How to Paint Maya Kelpies was just going to be quite a quick video. So we've put the Maya Kelpies and the treasures together. But we've done a video for everything, as I promised I would. Everything is ready to go, and well, I hope you're ready to have a look inside the box at everything that you get inside your copy of Warhammer Quest Darkwater. So despite this chaotic beginning, I'm very excited to show you the contents of the box and to talk about it. So we're going to jump right in just a second, but before we do that, please do all those YouTube-y things. Please hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me if you could. We want to get to 100,000. We've only got a few weeks left to do it in 2025. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe in January, but everybody counts. And of course, if you could please hit the like button, that means more people will see this video and more people hopefully will get as excited as you and I are for Warhammer Quest Darkwater. And if you are excited for Warhammer Quest Darkwater, please let me know down in the comments. And what should I show you first in terms of the videos? This is a poll. It's an informal poll. I want to know which one of these is going to be the first video you want to see. There's a whole lot, but what's the first one? And I'll edit that up later today or tonight or tomorrow or something like that. And we'll get that out as soon as possible for you guys to peruse. But for now, we're going to have a perusal of the contents of Warhammer Quest. So, let's go. Words cannot describe how excited I am for Warhammer Quest Darkwater. Oh my goodness me, look at this box. This is a very, very heavy box. And it's very, very exciting. I'm very, very excited for this one. So let's flip it over and have a look, shall we? It's very, very heavy. Absolutely chock-a-block full of content for us to jump into. So what do you get inside your Warhammer Quest Darkwater box? Well, inside the box you get, well, firstly, it can be played 1 to 4 players, cooperative or solo play for ages 12 and up. Playtime 45 minutes per session on average. There are 49 Citadel miniatures, 7 heroes, 4 bosses and 33 enemies. We have a lay flat book with 19 beautifully rendered maps. Choose from 7 different heroes and customize them with over 150 reward cards. Join the quest to save the Jade Abbey and its Fountain of Life as a party of 4 daring heroes. Includes more than 120 tokens. Experience a unique quest chosen from 96 different quest cards featuring replayable adventures and exciting puzzles. Face 11 enemy types including 4 bosses. Gelgus Pust and his minions seek to transform the Jade Abbey into a font of corruption. Only you and your friends can stop them. It also includes a quick start guide, 36-page rulebook including story and art, equipment cards and status cards, 14 dice including enemy action dice, 12 deck boxes to pause your adventures, and bonus cards to unlock. So, an absolute ton of things. Lots of really exciting, cool miniatures that we are going to be painting. And, well, this is a special moment because we get to break the seal on it together to prove that I'm not lying. I haven't had a look. I had to wait to do this with all of you. So, let's flip it over and see what is contained within the Darkwater. Oh, there's lots of movement in there. Alright, here we go. Ooh. Here comes the lid. There we go. Sorry for any noises. Right. Find a space for that on the floor. That'll do. Okay, firstly we have our dice. That's what those are. There we go. Nice and centre. We have our dice. We have our bag of bases. A big old bag of bases. Because everything in here is push fit. So this might be one of the quickest sprue reviews we've ever gone through. We have one of our... Oh, our big Nurgly boys. Oh, look at how big that is. That's awesome. So that's one sprue. Presumably this is the sprue with all of our heroes on it, so it should be 7 heroes plus a familiar on that one sprue. Now again, I don't know if there's any options in here because everything is push fit, so it could all be that there isn't any optional extras on this on all of these kits really, but we shall see in due time once we get our hands on that instruction manual. We have our not putrid Blight Kings, but pretty much putrid Blight Kings there. We have a loose base here. This will probably be for the Kanothi that's in the box. There we go. Pop that to one side. Pop this sprue over to one side. We have even more Gribblies. Gribblies. This is a sort of more traditional Games Workshop grey. Surprised it's not actually in a sort of putrid green for Nurgle, to be honest. Two different types of coloured plastic in the box would make sense. But there we go. We have Gelgus Pust, I'm assuming. Yes. Look how big he is. I honestly can't imagine how they do this. I can't figure out how they make such great push-fit models, but there we go. Of course, we'll have to see if they are good push-fit models. Of course, the balancing act of the sprues has just collapsed, so give me 1 second. Oh, we've got a piece left behind there, actually. Interesting. Okay, so one piece has been pressed out. That looks like a backpack of some description. We might have to find out who that belongs to and build that model first. I'll pop that to one side, different to the others. We have our last sprue just here as well. That seems to be the only part that's missing, but of course we shall investigate further to see if there are. We have one more large base. I'm guessing that's for Gelgus. So let's pop this sprue over here. Pop that sprue over there. We can put our bag of bases, base and base with this model. There we go. There we go. Lovely. Right. Contained within, we have one very large folio. That's an extremely large folio. And then we have a book. Or the book. I have no idea how to get it out. Hang on. Okay, so we've managed to rescue the book. It is a massive book. It is the entire length and breadth of the box. Now mine has got a little bit of damage just there, which is a bit unfortunate. But that little bit of artwork just there is absolutely gorgeous. I love this. Right, so this should be our lay flat book. Yes, it is. So let's get this box out of the way for the moment. And let's see just how lay flat this book in fact is. So move the dice. We just do that. Oh yeah, it's very lay flat. There's a little bit of a kind of parting of the glue here on page 1. It's not like the cleanest fold there, but it kind of makes sense for how this book is meant to work. Oh, it's very, very flat. It's very, very good. Oh, it's binded with some string rather than it all being glued in. Okay, that makes sense. So it starts to bow a little bit as we get further in. We should get some more. There's almost enough room for me to be able to play this live on stream on this camera. Almost enough room. I might try and see if I can figure out how to do this. Nice. Yeah, this feels pretty lay flat, but I mean, it is massive, right? It's two contents of the box basically when you fold it over. So for those of you who worried that it might be a little bit too small, it is that's the size of the box. Two boxes next to each other lengthways, and that's what you get for your maps. So we'll just see if we can squeeze through a few more. Yep. Nice. Let's just go to the back and see if that one lays as flat as the first one. Yeah, it does. Oh, this is so clever. It's so cool. It's so cool. Look at that. I love this very, very, very much. Okay. Oh, the statue of Alariel back there as well and everything. Okay. Let's pop this to one side. It's such a big book. Look at that. Just look at that. Okay, so book out of the way, and we need our exceptionally large folio. Here it is. Okay, so the trick here for me is going to be whether I can open this without tearing it, because I very often do. So I'm just going to do that. Aha! Got the angle of the dangle on one of them. Aha! We did it! We managed to get it open without tearing. For the first time in a long, long time. Okay. Let's just twizzle this to the side. So what do we have in here? This is where we have our quick start guide with a video tutorial and everything. I'll have to watch that a little bit later. So that's just paper. So that's going to be interesting to try and not lose. Pop it with the rest of the box. So we have our Act 1 cards. So there's Act 1 cards. We have bonus cards. Do not open until you have completed Act 1. We have something. We have something else over here. Act 1 cards. Open for your first game. Huh? Interesting. Act 2 cards. Do not open until you have completed Act 1. Oh, there's a lot more in here than first predicted. There's our Act 3 cards. So what else have we got? We have more Act 2 cards. And that would therefore mean that we should have our Act 3 cards in here. Yes, there they are. So Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So, I mean, I'm not going to open these because it tells me not to. So, I feel like I should obey the rules. That is a lot of cards, though. A whole lot of cards. I'm not sure what this is. I think we can open that. So let's have a little look, shall we? Oh, it's sealed. Oh, there's no warnings on it. There is more in here because we've got a cardboard divider, and then we've got some literature in there. Got some more cardboard. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Oh yes, there's another deck of cards in here. Or maybe 2 decks of cards. Hold on. Yes. Bonus cards. Okay, that should mean everything's out now, unless what's this? Nothing. Alright. So we have 2 final things to investigate. This stack of stuff and whatever is in here. So let's have a look in here, shall we? Ah, that looks to me like our deck boxes. Yes. So, this is how we can... Oh, that's our Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, something. 1, 2, 3, 4 characters. 3, 2, 1, and something else. Okay, so these are the boxes that we can form. I'm assuming that there's instructions on how to do that. I'm not going to try and do one live, because I think I'll definitely just screw it up, and I don't want to do that. So we'll see if there's any instructions on how to put those together. But that's our book of, well, our selection of deck boxes, so we can track our progress in between games, which I think is a really nice little touch. You don't have to remember everything or take photos or anything like that. So that's really cool. It's a lovely little addition to your Warhammer Quest Darkwater sets. Okay. Right. Finally, we have our instruction manual. No glue required. We have all of our tokens just here. 1 and 2 sets of tokens. We have a big old boat there. Nice. These are double-sided. No, they are not double-sided. Makes sense, I guess. I'm trying not to accidentally pop a bunch of them out, but okay. I'm sure this will make sense when you're playing the game. We have our rule book here, which is not a particularly heavy rule book. So let's just have a quick look, shall we? Land of Decay. Let's try not to give things away too early, shall we? But core rules: resolving an encounter, set up the battlefield, makes sense. Play through the encounter, do as it says. Enemy turns, moving, attacking, vulnerable, status cards, game modes, campaign, resolving an act, pausing a campaign, resuming a campaign, losing a campaign, quick guide to pausing a campaign, the Jade Abbey. There we go. There's a bit of our lore in here. A haven despoiled. Heroes of the Jade Abbey. Some background. Scions of the Plague Father. Mulgoth the Cleaver and Co. Building and painting. There you go. Cool. Alright. That is a very light instruction manual, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's quite a good thing, to be honest. So, lastly, we have our build guide just here. So let's come back in just a second to have a look at this. So let's have a little look at our build guide, shall we? No glue required is what they say. And here we should have a list of everything that's in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sprues in total. We have 25, 28, 32, 40, 50 millimeter round bases, and we have one 60 millimeter oval base. So that should be fairly easy to not get confused. And as predicted, we're actually going to be kicking things off when we come to it with the heroes. So we start with Edmark Valoran, Bren Tylus, then Inara Scion. None of them have got any optional extras here. We have Drolf Ironhead. Okay, so we do the first 4. Then we do the Maya Kelpies for some reason. Okay. Then Kelthanor. Then Drasha Vaughn. Then Jacobus Vine. Whisper. And then Gelgus Pust. B1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6 whole components for Gelgus Pust. Are you joking? Okay. Cankerborn then come along. They are not very particularly component intensive. D8, D7, D9, D10, D2, D1, D3, D4, D5, D6. And then you've built 2. Interesting. Belga the Cyst Witch is over here. She is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 components as well. Very, very, very efficient component use here. Mulgoth the Cleaver, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 components again for Mulgoth the Cleaver. That's incredibly satisfying. Blight Templars, let's see about them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, one more over here. Shaman Foulhoof over there. 2, 3, 4, 5 components for him, so it evens out across those two. Pestigores look to be, well, we get 2 here, and 2 there, and 2 there, and 2 there. Okay, makes sense. Pox wrenches, we then have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and then we have our tokens, D11, D12, and E62 all together. So overall, it's pretty efficient sprues, to be honest. I mean, there's no, although there is a couple of optional extras just there on the old pox wretches actually. Oh, and we do have some scattered in amongst the pestigores as well. So okay, there's a big old axe there, and there's E7. So you build 2 of them. So they're actually not technically optional extras. They're just put this one on which one you prefer. Same for E13 and E14. You build them twice, so you might have a couple of bits left over. E15 and E16 is optional. E20 and E21 are optional as well, and then E27 and E29 are optional, and E25 and E26 are as well. E32, 34, E31, 33, 30, 36, 37, 41 and 42 should all be duplicated. E45, 46, E48, 49, E52, E53, E56 and E57 should all be duplicated within the box. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be a tricky one to sprue review, in fact, because we're pretty much just going to have to do all of A, as in all of the heroes, and then we'll take it as it comes, I suppose. So let's go find that sprue. So our first sprue, of course, to look at is the sprue of heroes, and the piece that was missing is this piece here. And my piece, unfortunately, is from Drolf Ironhead. Now, it took me a little while to figure out what this was. It is, in fact, his back, because I couldn't figure out what that hand was. And actually, I found the gap over here. So, unfortunately, not only is this a piece that's broken off the sprue, it is, unfortunately, a piece that is also snapped entirely. So, we're going to have to figure out a way to repair that with some glue. So, there is going to be some glue required for my set. But, of course, your mileage may vary. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll snap these in half-ish, snap these in twain, let's say. Let's pop that just over there for the moment, and that piece goes with that. Okay, so here it is. Here's sprue number 1 of Darkwater. And as you can see, we've got some absolutely spectacular pieces going on here. Edmark Valent. Edmark's over here. I was so confident I knew his surname, but I didn't know it in the end. We have our Kernothy over here. We have this lovely water that we've talked about before on stream, and I was really impressed by that. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. And we have, you know, just various other things. Drolf is over here, for example, as well. So everything feels like pretty good, pretty big. Now, when it comes to things like mold lines, which is really the thing we're going to be looking for, because we're in the coloured plastic, this sort of bone-coloured plastic, it is going to be sometimes a little bit tricky to see if there are, in fact, any mold lines going on here. And for the most part, these actually seem to be in pretty good nick. But the one kind of benefit we have of having a piece that's broken off is we can actually look at that piece in detail. So if we can bring this real close to the camera, and let's see if we can just make sure that focus is in. Right, there we go. So this should be a good yardstick for whether or not there is in fact any mold lines going on here. Now there's a little bit of it just there. You see? It's a little bit going across that pouch. But otherwise, they're not particularly thick. So this is just going to be a case of like trusting the system and just getting our components off the sprue. And then just running the back of our knife or our mold line remover over these bits. Like that. And just trusting. Just going to avoid the damaged area for now, because we don't want to shave too much of that off in case we need it. Like so. And then that's where the break was, just there with the sprue. So we just flip the knife over to the cutting edge and just smooth that out. There we go. And then we just very gently run it over the top of these bolts. Handle of that little crossbow back underneath of the axe. And that is a cleaned and ready piece to go for Rolf whenever it is we get to him. So let's have a look at the sprue proper then, shall we? See if there's any potential nightmare clip points. So firstly, we do actually have a very lovely sword over here, where there is no connection point on the cutting edge of the blade, which is fantastic. For this axe head over here, again, we avoid that dreaded fate, and for the shaft of the arrow, we don't have that going on either. The axe doesn't have a connection point on the cutting edge of the blade, but the water over here does actually have a connection point in the water, so that's something to watch out for. Connection points on stuff like the cloaks and stuff. This is a folded over piece of fabric. I don't know if it's actually going to clip into something. It probably is going to clip into the rest of the cloak, but it feels like it's going to kind of underlap a little bit, which if it does, that's really cool because it means it hides the join line, which is awesome. We have a little bit more stuff going on. We have the rest of the body of our water lady over here. That should connect up with here just about. I think there's meant to be a little bit of gap, so don't worry if there is. I think it's meant to kind of have a partition between the two, if that makes any sense. The rest of the kind of the body of our Kanothi, we do have connection points here on the soft muscle tissue, and same over here and here as well. We have the similar sort of things going on with sort of connection points in cloth all over the place. That's kind of meant to be expected though in these kind of push fit models. As you saw, it's pretty easy to clean these things up very quickly, but it is worth watching out for and making sure again that you're just always moving in that orientation to make sure you're getting all of those mold lines, but also all of that additional flash that's going on, because you don't want any of that being left behind when it comes to the paint job. Now, one thing I will point out when it comes to building push-fit models, very occasionally, sometimes they won't actually fully go together. Simplest way to deal with this is to just clip off these pegs and then use a little bit of glue instead. But make sure you do follow the instructions in the order of which they put these things, because sometimes if you just kind of go a little bit gung-ho, you can end up making life more difficult for yourself by using glue and just clipping all of the pegs off, because then you can kind of forget and not see where sort of things line up. And also the thing to watch out for is sometimes a peg will go through two pieces, so if you clip it all the way off, it might not actually adhere when it comes to later putting it together, but we'll see. I mean, it is usually on a push fit by push fit case. The other thing you can do is, if you want to still keep the peg, is just clip the very tip of the peg off and then push them together. And of course, if you want to, use some glue as well, but I would caution against filling up any of these receiver holes with the glue, and the reason being is that you can create an air pocket, which then actually starts pushing the pieces further apart. You want to just apply it probably just around sort of the base of the peg, and then push it together. If that makes, well, it should make sense. There we go. We have a lovely smooth tail over here with a connection point on it, which I've just noticed, which is a bit of a bummer, but there we go. Nothing we could do about that. Okay, that's sprue number 1. Here is sprue number 2 with our unfortunate break just there. Now these, we've already pointed it out, but it should just go together no problem. There is a little bit of extra plastic going on there where it's kind of teased out of the hole, but it looks like it's pretty clean, so we should be okay. I'm a little bit disappointed by that, but not enough to dull my spirits about this box. The best thing to do, of course, is to take these pieces off, just clean it up and glue it together off the thing. Probably use super glue there just to make sure it's a really tight bond rather than plastic glue. But there we go. We'll have to watch out for that with the painting and all that kind of stuff. So finally, other parts of this, we have our other kind of heroes. We have the wizard, we have the big old bear, where he's got connection points kind of, well, actually quite sparingly, twice on the underside, and those connection pegs with the base. That's what I was looking for, and once here on the belt. So it's actually a pretty nice piece, this. Over here we do actually have connection point in the fur, but then once again up here where it's going to be covered up by presumably his shoulders, we have connection points on his muscles here and here, so again, that's something to watch out for. But overall, It's pretty good. I mean, look at how scaled that armor is on Bryn. I'm assuming that's Bryn. I think that's Bryn. That's lovely. There's so much detail in these models. It's unbelievable that they managed to do this. We have the heads connected here on the side, unfortunately not at the underside of the neck, which would be preferable. And same here on the side of the wizard's hood. So that should be a nice and smooth piece of fabric, so you want to watch out for that when it comes to the construction. But there we go. I mean, look, I have a broken piece, so that will temper my opinion of it a little bit. We shouldn't have too much in the way of kind of cloaks that are in multiple pieces. I say that because we've got one here and one here. I don't know how they're going to go together, but presumably they do as a single piece. But that looks like the edge, and that also looks like the edge, so maybe there is an overlap here. If there is, that's fantastic. Same over here. I think there is an overlap between this cloak and this piece here. For her with the dress, it's going to be a slightly different tail, because there is a cut there, but I don't know, and there's a cut there as well, but I don't know if there's an overlap. If there is, then that's perfect. If not, then we need to use a little bit of glue just to smooth it out. But well, I guess we'll find out together. So I'm going to build all of these guys, and we'll see how long it takes to build the heroes of Warhammer Quest Darkwater. So our adventuring party is all built, as you can see. And, well, that was a very pleasurable hour and 40 minutes, roughly, experience. So I'm just going to quickly try and get some names right by using using the instructions. So, Ed Mark Valoran, there he is, went together, fully push fit, no problems at all. Looks absolutely fantastic. There is a fold in the cloak there. That's not a gap. It's meant to be there. It really works. It's a really, really cool little kit, that one. So Ed Mark Valoran, very good. Bren Tylus, also very good. I did have to use a little bit of glue just along this seam in the cloak, just there, and that's just literally just so that it would hold together, because there's not a push fit there. There is a little groove where the two bits of cloak go together, and it does sit together, but it just needs a little bit of glue just to make sure it holds like that. So that was pretty good. Then we have Inara Scion. Here she is. I had to use a little bit of glue on the base just to make sure she stayed in. For some reason that peg just was really, really, really loose in all of the bases, and we used a little bit of glue just on this seam here and on that seam just there on the cloak. But otherwise, again, goes together really, really nicely on this absolutely gorgeous model. I think this is fantastic. This might be my favorite one in the whole lot. Drolf, that's the name I'll forever know. Drolf Ironhead, here he is. Obviously we had to use a little bit of glue to fix his axe, and actually what we did is there's a peg here inside where basically this part and sort of this arm, so the left arm is a hood over the top of his head. This is a separate piece, this is a separate piece, and this is a separate piece. We actually ended up just pushing all of these together, clipping off the peg that's inside there, and just slotting it on. So, in the instructions, if I show you, you'll see what I mean. So, there you go. That's the sort of, like the back of his skirt. That's his left arm that goes onto this one. That's his right arm that goes onto this one. It's the clip point that is this one here, that stick, the one that's highlighted in yellow. We just snipped that off, so everything else pushed together, and then we just slotted it on top of the model. For Drasha Vaughn, here he is, we actually clipped off the two shoulder pegs and just stuck this in. It was just much quicker to do it that way, and also get a nice kind of close, consistent seam around the chest. So that's what we did there. For Kelthanor, we used a little bit of glue just in here on that little bit there, and on the underside of the rock here, just because it wasn't sitting flat on the base, and I wanted it to sit flat on the base. So there you go, that's Kel'Thanor. And for Jacobus Vine, we didn't have to do anything, because he looks fantastic. Same for Whisper. Didn't have to do any gluing whatsoever. Actually, for Whisper, we did have to do a little bit of gluing just here on the base. Again, because it wouldn't sit in the peg in the receiver just there. It wouldn't sit in there flush. So there we go. That is our hero quest. No, our adventuring party for Warhammer Quest. Our heroes for Warhammer Quest all built. So yeah, just a little bit of editing when it comes to the push fit, but otherwise a pretty good set of models. So with our adventuring party now all finished built, it's going to get a little bit confusing from this point onwards, because things are not as they seem on the sprues. Well, they are. It's just there's a lot of things on the same sprue, as it were. So there is one sprue that contains Gelgus Pust, Belga the Sistwitch, and Shaman Foulhoof. And that is this one, just here. So that contains all three of those characters. Then the next one is this one, which contains both the Blight Templars, so that one there, and it contains Mulgoth the Cleaver. So that's two different sets on that one. And then we have this one, which is just the Cankerborn. Cankerborn? Yes, that is what they're called. So that's just the Cankerborn. Then we've got 3 heroes on one sprue, a hero and 3 models on another sprue, and then the other 2 sprues, which are these large A4 sized ones. These ones contain the Maya Kelpies, the Pestigors, and they contain the Pox Wretches, and they are duplicate sprues. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start with the Cankerborn, and we'll just get them done, because we're going off piste here, because the next thing in the, well, halfway through the hero party, we do the Maya Kelpies for some reason. I don't know why they've put them there, but they have. I think it's just to fill out the page. But then Drasha Vaughn could have gone there, but then Gelgus put... Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not quite sure why it's there in that order, but it is. So we're going to do the Maya Kelpies later when we do the Pestigors and the Pox Wretches at the same time. So we're just going to skip over Gelgus just for the moment, and we're going to do the Cankerborn. Then we'll do Gelgus, Belga, and Shaman Foulhoof, and then we'll do Mulgoth the Cleaver. Or no, we'll do the Cankerborn, then Mulgoth the Cleaver, and Blight Templars, and then we'll do the 3 characters, so it's all kind of a bit contained, and we're not kind of jumping all over the place too much. So, here is the Cankerborn, and they should be push fit, as we've already seen with the adventuring party. And there's not a huge amount of components here, as we've already kind of talked about. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in total. So 6 per Cankerborn, which is very cool. They are really, really detailed miniatures, as you can see. And, well, they are going to be a little bit unfortunate to clean up, but it doesn't really matter too much because they are Nurglith in their aspect. So having a little kind of little kind of bits of it missing, or it's a little bit kind of gnarled or something, isn't actually the end of the world too much. And that kind of goes for all of these Nurgle things. Of course, sometimes you might have a really like smooth muscle. It's rare with Nurgle, but that's the kind of thing you want to watch out for. But there are some things that we can sort of praise this for. Absolutely. We actually, there's one of the that's one of the objective markers, actually, just there as well. So it gets even more confusing. So there's only 11 components here and 1 objective marker by the looks of things. At least I think that's one of the objective markers. I'm not entirely sure. One of the sort of the treasures that you can find. Anyway, this large, big, old axe does not have a connection point on the cutting edge of the blade, which is great, but the big old executioner's blade does, just down there at the bottom. So that's one thing to watch out for. But again, this is going to probably be painted very rusty, very broken, very chipped, so it doesn't actually matter too much in the long run. The mold lines are looking really good. similar to the adventuring party. Should be nice and easy to clean up by the looks of things. Of course, there's a little bit of it there present, but this should be a little bit easier to spot if you're used to building miniatures, because it's in the grey as opposed to trying to spot them in this sort of bone-coloured plastic. It's a little bit easier. So they're looking pretty good. However, despite what I said about kind of being able to sort of be a little bit more cavalier with the clipping and the cleaning, we do have connection points on on a lot of the kind of smooth muscles. So there's one actually here on the top of a smooth skull, so we don't want to actually just flatten that off, so just be careful on there, on component 7 up here. We have connection points on the leg here on the outside, here in the sort of crusty scale, so that's okay. One here in the crusty scales, and that's another bit of crustiness. No, that looks like a pouch actually. So that's a connection point and some smooth leather just there. Connection point on the smooth knee joint there. One here right on the top of a skull again, so watch out for that one. We have another objective marker, I think that is actually. So that's 10 components plus 2 objective markers by the looks of things. So we're actually going to get through more than we perhaps anticipated. And one thing I do actually really like here is that for these heads, for this one, we don't have a connection point on the horn at the top here, and we don't have one on this one either, which is really good to see. Just have a couple of connection points on the top of the other heads or cheeks, whatever you want to call them. So that's just something to watch out for. Again, just make sure you're kind of like not leaving too much behind and just being a little bit smoother with that. And then we have this like kind of, I guess that's like a cod piece or something. It's a piece of armor that's going to go somewhere on someone, and that's just connected around the outside, so that's nice and smooth and easy to deal with. Yeah, okay, Cankerborn look really cool. So let's get them built, shall we? Let's see how long it takes to build them. I don't anticipate this taking much time at all. So Cankerborn all built, looking beautiful. And now we move on to Mulgoth the Cleaver and the Blight Templars. I don't know why I enjoy that name, I just do. So here they are. And once again, fairly common stuff that's going on here. Looking out for blades and things with connection points on cutting edges of blades, which we don't have. So like this one was fine, this one's fine, this one's fine. All pieces seem to be intact, which is great. We have star fists. Elden Ring fans, eat your heart out. Oh man, that's actually quite cool. I hadn't noticed that before. Is that a star fist? I hope it's a star fist. I'll be sad if it's not. But yeah, here we go. So components are, as we've kind of talked about before, but these are actually kind of in sort of really good condition, really, because it's mostly armor, mostly metal, smooth plates, which actually makes things a lot easier to deal with. Now, of course, we do have the occasional bit of tree and stuff like that. We have a connection point here on the top of this head up here as well, which is something to watch out for. We have one here on this horn or tusk. No, that's a horn. This one is on the top of the helmet as well, so helmets all seem to have connection points on the top of them. Yes, there as well. So we want those to be kind of smoothed and rounded and domed, because we don't want them to be sort of ick, as it were. But it is what it is. But otherwise, I mean, look, the connection points are pretty nicely put into the rest of the models. Connection points, for example, on the underside of boots and on those kind of those plugs for the push fit bases. Similarly, in areas that are going to be covered over with other kind of shoulders and things like that. Like for example, here along the edge of the armor, we do have connection point there on the elbow, and here on this sort of slimy tentacle and all that kind of thing. But again, it's kind of paired half and half with some really good stuff as well at the same time. So overall, I think it's actually quite a nice sprue. And there's lots of detail here as well. So really, really cool models. But whilst they might be super detailed, there's also large expanses of flat area, which is just kind of nice to see on Nurgle models, because again, you don't really get that these days, especially if they took the design cues from, example, the Death Guard, because the Death Guard are, you know, just insane when it comes to the slimy details. But these feel pretty clean, which is interesting. But overall, I think it's a really nice sprue. So, as I said, there's the Blight Templars and there's the Mulgoth the Cleaver on here. There really isn't a huge amount to say about it. There's Not much in the way of mould lines either. Just looking at the arm of Mulgoth here. And he looks like a pretty clean sprue. So that's really good. Is this the best set ever? Oh, well, it is for me, certainly so far. We will require these, and we'll require some 40mm round bases. So we'll get those out of the way, and we'll get our timer set up, and we'll get ready to have a look at these 2 units. Really, really quick stuff. Really, really good stuff as well. These guys now all built. We didn't actually require any glue other than on this guy just here. So we required a little bit of glue just up this seam here to make sure that it all fit together and we didn't have a big old ugly gap. This looks like a gap, but it in fact isn't, so it's all good. But yeah, that was it. And yeah, they're looking pretty tasty. So let's pop this to one side over here. And now we're basically going to work on our 3 big bads, or 3 more of our big bads, on this one sprue. So here it is. And the next models that we're going to be looking at are Shaman Foulhoof and Belga the Cyst Witch and Gelgus Pust. So all 3 of them are on this one sprue. Just here, as you can see. So what have we got? Well, there's a couple of things to point out here. Firstly, there's not very many components. Once again, we have roughly 18, something like that, 12, 17 components I think in total here on the sprue. So it's not a very busy sprue. There's a lot of detail here, but it's not a very busy sprue at all, and all of the models are relatively simple again to put together. However, we do have things like on Gelgus Pust's blade, we have a connection point right there on the cutting edge of that blade. It is on the back, which is a plus. It's not going to be over the top of that face that's trapped in the blade there, but that's one thing to watch out for. But otherwise, just like with the Blight Templars, the connection points are generally stuck to things like armor and stuff like that. We do have one here actually on the big, soft, smooth, flabby flesh of the arm, actually on the back piece of Gelgus Pust there. In terms of mold lines, we are once again in really good shape, looking really, really good. And well, generally, it's amazing that he's in 6 pieces, basically. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's more. There's a base bit as well. I'm not sure where, but you know, he comes in very, very, very few amount of pieces, which is very, very, very impressive for the size of model that it in fact is. And I'm just a big, big fan of that. So again, proof is in the pudding. We'll see how it goes when it comes to putting him together. Shaman Foulhoof over here, his head. We'd have connection points in the horn and 2 on either side of the... That's leather, it's not the beard, so it's a little bit smoother and easier to deal with. Then over here on the body, we have one on the bell, which is the best place that it could be placed. It is a sort of concaved surface, so that is something to watch out for. Just move with the curvature of it. But again, it is still on a smooth detail. One over here on this large sort of tree stump, horn, bone growth type thing. One here on the cloth of his robe, and one on the underside of his foot or hoof. We have the Cyst Witch. Can't remember her first name. I've already forgotten it. Was it Belga? Can't remember. Either way, because the connection points on the actual wood of the staff here on the elbow on the actual skin. Once here on the staff head, and once here on the horns as well. So just kind of, this one's a little bit congested over here. This we want to move with the curvature. This we want to move with the curvature again, all that kind of thing. As for like the potential areas for problems, the body of the Cyst Witch is going to be a slight issue. We might have what could look like a gap going up the middle. It does look like it's going to be covered by these spines mostly, but that is something to watch out for. You might want to clip the pegs there and make sure that you get that nice and tight when you're building that. This looks to me to be like the tail, so actually this should be generally okay. It's going to slot down onto something by the looks of things. That's pretty cool. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, look, the same things are sort of present as there have been so far. You want to watch out for cloth, you want to watch out for flesh, you want to watch out for smooth horns, like that one there. This one here on this knee, for example, and so on. But generally, I mean, look, it looks pretty cool. I'm really pleased. To get 3 whole characters on one sprue like that, I think is really awesome as well. So let's get them built, shall we? The 3 characters. Off we go. With our 3 bosses now all built, and for a little size comparison, oops, dropped Belga twice. Right, just as a cheeky little size comparison, there you go. A dwarf. Actually, let's be a little bit fairer and do that. Make sense? It's fairly imposing. Right, so now we've built all of our heroes and our kind of specialist pieces. We do have one bit of glue that we had to apply to 2 models. On this one we had to apply a little bit of glue just in here on the elbow of the witch, just here. This is just so that this stayed still, basically, because there is a little groove for the stirring stick to go in. I just had to apply a little bit of glue there just to make sure it stayed in there. And for Big Boy, whose name I've forgotten, is it Pustus? We did actually just clip off the main sort of stick inside here. It was here a second ago. There you go. It's a really long one. It goes around about there. It was just because it wouldn't sit straight. Wouldn't sit in the cradle no matter how hard I pushed. So there we go. We only had to do 2 bits of glue. So now we come to the final part of Warhammer Quest Darkwater, where we have 2 identical sprues, and they are of this one. The other one is behind me, but we only need to look at one. Now on here there should be, let's get the instruction manual, there should be 3 Maya Kelpies. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4 Pestigors, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Pox Wretches, and then 1 of our tokens. So 1, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 models on this one sprue alone. Now, a lot of these models aren't particularly in-depth to build, which is something that we're very, very excited about around here. And, well, it's kind of more of the same. We don't really have optional extras. What we have is alternative builds, which is how you keep your horde of Pox Wretches and Pestigors looking unique, right? So it's not like an optional head, an optional weapon. It is, but if you build the same weapon twice, you'll have 2 identical looking ones. So that's something to definitely bear in mind when you're building these. A good way to keep track is to just use all of the weapons and options from one sprue, so that the other sprue will just be a sprue of the things that have been left behind. So if you have piece A and piece B that go on model A, use piece A and model A, then on the next sprue use model A and then piece B from this sprue as well. That way you keep things neat and tidy, and you get to throw away a sprue, which is really cool. So we're just going to quickly look at this sprue to see the things that we usually look for, like cutting edge blades with connection points to the sprue. And so far I can't see any on here. So like there's a sword there that doesn't have one, neither there nor this one. There's a Maya Kelpie there, that doesn't help us. We have a sword here, an axe there, mace there, hammer there, cleaver there, scythe, little pick, little axe. seems to be that all of the weapons on that particular side of the sprue escaped that dreaded fate. The sort of halberd over here doesn't have one, neither does this piece, neither does that piece. This piece doesn't either. That is a cutting edge at the end. It's kind of like a, I can't remember, there's like a snow pick or something like that. This one sort of does on the pike, but also not really. The scythe over here, the big two-handed one, doesn't have it either. Now there is, just looking at that initially, it looks like some of these components are a bit warped. This one here in particular, I don't think it is. I think it's meant to be bent at the angle, and same for this one actually. Looks like it curls like this. I think it's meant to be that way, so it's all good. And generally the things we're going to watch out for here are going to be connection points on things like the tops of heads, like one over here. We are going to be looking for things like the connection points on soft flesh, like over here. And then for our pestigores, we're going to be looking for connection points inside fur and that kind of thing. That's the things we have to really watch out for when we're building these, because mold lines once again look to be fairly non-existent here. These have been really high quality sculpts and really high quality sprues, so it's been an absolute joy to put these together. The cleanup has been fairly minimal. There's been cleanup, but it's been really easy. It's been an absolute breeze to do, so I'm just over the moon with how these have come together. So overall, whilst it looks like there's a ton of things here, there actually isn't that much, although there is a lot of models, and we're going to be building 2 of these. So that is going to be the kind of the longest part of this whole enterprise that you'll engage in. We've got so much character already across where we are at over here, but this is where the meat and potatoes is. So lots to do, lots to get on with. Let's jump in and let's see how long we're going to film the time lapse for. We'll probably just do like a little bit, and then I'll obviously time the rest of it so you can see how long it takes to build an entire frame of the baddies from Darkwater here. Overall, I'm really impressed. Really, really very impressed. I cannot wait to start playing this game. So there you have it. That is all of the sprues and the contents of Warhammer Quest Darkwater. So now it's time for me to show off. Check out these. We start, of course, with Edmark Valoran, I think most people's favourite model, obviously the one that was revealed first, as voted for by the public. And he is the gorgeous Cities of Sigmar knight, the Manticore Knight, I believe is called. Then we have Drolf Ironhead, the all-new Dwarden character, who hopefully is a herald of things to come, with more new Dwarden on the way. Just, you know, your regular folks living in the mortal realms. That would be absolutely lovely, wouldn't it? Now we have Bren Tylus, another of the leaders of the pack, as it were. There's 4, obviously, on the front cover. There's obviously a few more heroes, but Bren is a mercenary, and she looks absolutely spectacular. It's probably one of my favourites from the box. Then we have Inara Scion, the lovely water mage. She's gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful model. Just an absolute joy to build and paint. Really, really quick. Really, really, really cool. And I cannot wait to see what she does in game. We next have Drasha Vaughn, the shapeshifter, the half-man, half-bear type thing. He's a really, really fun exercise in lots of cool things to build and paint. Just really, really lots of colours going on here that really complement each other and look wonderful. We then have Jacobus Vine, the Jade Wizard, who's probably the most D&D model Games Workshop have ever released. It's absolutely spectacular. He's lovely, he's wonderful. There's so much going on here. Lots of different greens, but it looks spectacular. Finally, for the heroes, we have Kel Thanor, the Forest Prince himself, the Centaur Kanothi type model. He's the biggest hero in the box. He's beautiful. Really, really fun to paint. Again, looks complicated, but has actually got quite a simple scheme. Now we have Gelgus Pust, the leader of the Nurgle, and he is magnificent. He's so big. He's absolutely a joy to paint. There's lots of textures, lots of different things going on. He looks wonderful, particularly proud of the wings and the sword here. We have Mulgoth the Cleaver here. He's the sort of big bad of the Blight Templars. I think this is going to be a real favourite of expert painters everywhere to build and paint this one. If Nurgle characters in armour are anything to go by, he's definitely the one. We have Belga the Cyst Witch. Now she looks really, really complicated, but was managed to do it really quickly, and I was really surprised at how quick she in fact was to paint. But she's beautiful miniature once she's finally fully done. Just so gross, lovely. Shaman Foulhoof is the last of our evil bosses, so our big bad characters. He's the chief of the beast men in the box, and well, he's gross in all the right ways, but he's really gross. Next up, we have the Cankerborn, who might be one of my favourite sets of demons ever released. They're just, what they mean is really cool. They occur when the ground itself is corrupted. These are demonic ground. Demonic earth. It's fantastic. We have got, of course, the Blight Templars, who look super heavy in their green metallic plate. Really fun figuring out this scheme, and I think it's absolutely spectacular. I really hope you like what we've come up with for it, because it's it's really fun to do. Then we have the Pox Wretches, the most numerous of the foes in Warhammer Quest Darkwater. Again, we've got really interesting way of painting these. Two different primers, Greyseer and Wraithbone, going on here, with just a couple of recipes that then get doubled out because of different primers. It's really cool. We then, of course, have the Pestigors. These are the last of the adversaries, apart from the Maya Kelpies, the serious big models in the box. And again, similar thing, we did half in Greyseer, half in Wraithbone. So yeah, watch out for this one. It's really fun. There's lots of really cool techniques. Finally, of course, the stars of the show. The cutest little guys. We have the Maya Kelpies and the Treasures. And all of this has got videos coming your way very soon. There's a lot of videos. Yes, all 49 miniatures in the box, ready to play. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to play this game. We're going to take our first steps into the Jade Abbey, into the Darkwater, as it were. We're going to do that live here on YouTube, and we're going to do it tomorrow. And, well, you can explore it together. Because I haven't played the game yet. I've just been locked in painting. Because, well, there's a lot of models to get through, but we've got them all done. And I really wanted to have them all done in time to play, because I have no idea how it works. I don't know if you're going to run into Gelgus Pust in Act 1, so he needed to be painted. Same for all the Pestigors and the Pox Wretches and the Blight Templars and all of the baddies. So we shall have to see how that goes. I'm kind of nervous, but should be fun. Anyway, enough about future content, because right now we're talking about current content. We're talking about this box. So what ultimately did we think of Warhammer Quest Darkwater? Yeah, it's that good. Glowing praise with the exhalation. Now, the sprues are generally some of the best push fit kits that I've seen in a long time. I mean, I love push fit models, as you guys know, and I know a lot of you don't. But in terms of how good these were to put together, I think I went through it in the video. I'm pretty sure I did, of all the places where I needed to clip a peg off and use some glue instead. And I think there's possibly one or two more where over time it's kind of just like pressure has just kind of forced it out. For example, like I know there's a tiny little bit of a gap going along on Gelgus Pust's arm, which could have been compensated for with some glue. But ultimately, there are some push fit kits that are not built the same. There are some where you have to take all of the pegs off, or multiple pegs of them off, or they're just, the push fit pieces aren't well designed, and so the gaps are just like front and center. They're right in the middle of things. I think a good example of that is probably something like the Praetors from Dominion. They weren't particularly good, like to push fit together, as but one example. And there are some Underworlds warbands, for example, where it doesn't quite hit as well. Whereas for this set, there's stuff like with the overlaps and the kind of where the dividing line are for stuff like Edmark, for example, on his cloak. There's a really nice kind of way that the cloak does this in order to hide what will be a gap, which is really intelligent, because it's right in the middle of the deepest, darkest part of the recess, which means you'll never see it. so you don't have to glue it. So it goes together really, really well. There's occasionally the couple of bits which are slightly too difficult to put together. Drolf Ironhead, for example, and it was a bit disappointing, of course, for me to have the broken piece of Drolf Ironhead. We were able to repair him absolutely no problem, so mine does lose marks for that, because that's a shipping error, and I hope it doesn't happen to you. It might happen to you, it might be exactly the same, or it might be a different piece, depending on how it's packed, or depending on where some pressure might have been put when it was put in the packaging, or indeed how you carried it yourself. It might have been me, it might have been the shipping, it might have been the packing, I don't know. But if your Drolf is broken, I can only apologise. I mean, it's not my fault, but I can sympathise, that's the right thing to say. But additionally, when it came to the cleanup, there wasn't tons of that to do. And I really, really appreciate that. Like, there's always cleanup on these kits, and when you have really thick mold lines, and I will just kind of point to something like the Deathwatch kill team that came out, that was really bad for mold lines. I half expected in here what you would have is a series of really nice bad guys and horrible mold lines on all the heroes, or vice versa, because that kind of seems to be what's happened recently in these kind of faction versus faction box sets, particularly for kill team, right? But here everything is just really, really nice. It's really smooth, very, very simple to clean up. Just gently give the back of the blade a rub around each of the kind of components that are available for you to build, and you're off to the races. And I feel like I didn't miss very much either, and it was very, very, very simple to clean up, which is exactly what you want from what is essentially a standalone set. There is obviously information out there that says that all of the Nurgle stuff is going into the Maggotkin of Nurgle Battle Tome, which is very exciting, because it means for me I've just grown my Maggotkin of Nurgle collection quite significantly. But ultimately, as a build experience, it was really good. It was really quick, and I enjoyed it, which I guess is probably the highest praise I can give any building, because as is known widely, I don't like building. There's plenty of variation going on here. There's enough variation in it that actually I think kind of tops it over something like Cursed City and the other one I was thinking of, Blackstone Fortress. There was more variety of miniatures, I think, in Blackstone Fortress, because you had all the little Urguls and stuff like that, and the Traitor Guardsmen and the Space Marines and various other things in there, right? But I feel like here with the Pox Wretches, for example, there's no duplicates, and there's no duplicates of the Beastmen, the Pestigors either. Whilst the poses are very similar, the actual way they look is just slightly different enough for them to sort of carry off as completely different models. Not completely different, but there's enough there so that it's visually interesting. And I think that's a really cool thing. It could have just been like super duplicated over and over and over again. And also there's a lot of variation from the smallest Maya Kelpie all the way up to the Cankerborn and the Blight Templars, which are really big, impressive models. And the fact they go together in a push-fit way is just even more impressive in and of itself. And ultimately, because there isn't tons and tons of very different things here, again, referencing those other things, like with Cursed City, where you had Death Rattle Skeletons, and you had the Vargulf something or other, the Vargskir, that was it, one of them, and you had the little vampires with the swords and all this kind of thing. You had a lot of variation within those things, and as a consequence of that, it means you've got a lot of different things to paint very differently. And here, all of the sort of variation comes in with the heroes. And I realise we are talking in a Sprue review about painting, but it is worth bearing in mind that this feels like a united horde of pestilence, which is really cool. And when you're planning your paint jobs, it means that you can kind of pick a colour palette and go with it across most of the models in this box. The only one that's slightly different, of course, is all of the heroes, and there's 7 of those plus Whisper, just a little token that goes with Jacobus Vine. I'm very familiar with all of the names now. I've been doing nothing but this for the last fortnight. So ultimately, I just really love this box, and I think it's fantastic. Is there stuff that's missing in there? There is one thing. There's one thing that I think is missing, and it's a place to store them. And I know that feels like, you know, maybe just asking for a little bit too much to come in one box. But I think there's really cool innovations here, and they're not innovations in wargaming, but they're innovations for Games Workshop with the lay flat book, for example. We've seen those in other game systems and other places before, but for Games Workshop to do that rather than an endless series of card cutouts, that's good. That's impressive. You know, that's what Curse City is. It's an endless series of card cutouts, and you generate the map as you go along. Or you pick the scenario and you lay out the map, and they're all double-sided, and sometimes it's not entirely clear which one is which, and you might end up affecting the entire game because you laid it out wrong, for example. And also that you need tons of room to play that. You don't need a lot of room to play Warhammer Quest Darkwater. And I love how big that book is. It really makes me laugh. It's fantastic. But it does fit here on my desk, and very few things do because it's such a very little desk, which is why we'll be able to play it live tomorrow, hopefully. Hopefully. I also really like the deck boxes. I think that's a really great way of trying things, and I think it's really interesting. It's a cool little idea. Again, not a brand new idea, not an invention, but it's innovative from Games Workshop. The only thing that, as I said, I think is missing here is just a specific Darkwater case to put your models in. That's it. And I would love to have had that in the box, because there's so much stuff that comes in the box that actually storing it all together carefully actually is quite difficult, because sometimes these boxes, or at least these large Games Workshop boxes like the Kill Team stuff, once you take all of the sprues and all of the terrain out, you've got plenty of space to put the models and the books and the dice, if that's how you're going to store them. But if you're going to store all of the terrain, it generally doesn't go in those boxes because it's so big. In this instance, you've got so many little packets of cards, so many models, books, the book, the big book, the dice and all this kind of thing, that actually it is quite a tight fit to keep it all in that box. So it is what it is. Maybe a little just sold separately, maybe, but a specific Darkwater foam case or something would be really cool, just to make this a whole like presentation box. That would be fantastic, especially if it had space for that giant map book. I really like the giant map book. Okay, there's some really pretty maps in there. Anyway, I've rabbited on long enough now. So I really enjoyed this box. On the Land Raider scale, what would we give this one? We are going to give this a 9 out of 10. We have to knock some marks off because I had a broken piece, you know, which is a shame. Could have been it's close. It's close. If it wasn't for the broken piece and, you know, the occasional having to cut some of the pegs off in order to actually make things fit, this would have been a 10 out of 10 box, but it's not. It is a 9 out of 10. It has flaws, but they're not the biggest flaws that will get in the way of your enjoyment and obviously my enjoyment, because I've really enjoyed it. How many times can you say enjoy in a sentence? So anyway, thank you so much for watching this one and for supporting the channel this year. It's been an absolute riot. So much has been done, and there's still a little bit of time left to go with some more things on the way. As to what they are, I don't know, but I need to sleep because it's been a long couple of weeks painting all of this, and I can't wait to play it, and I can't wait for you to enjoy all the content. Do let me know once again. Just let me know in the comments which video you want to see first after this one, and let me know if you're going to enjoy watching playing the game or something. Anyway, it's tough to say goodbye.
If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.